Rashan, it's so honored to have you here
Pleasure.
on the Men's Den, the Black Man Can. I've been following your work for so long,
Dope.
and just really happy to have you here.
Yes, love to be in great company. Remember when you had first hit me, I was excited for it. I know we're gonna have a great conversation, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely, man. And so how I like to really start off every show. A lot of times when we get together as Black men,
Yeah.
it's again, it's good. I see you moving. I see you want to be just like you. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes we gotta really take that time as Black men to like just big up ourselves and talk about how amazing we are. So how I like to start the episodes of the Men's Den is tell me why you him. Tell me why you one of them ones.
Yeah,
Tell me why you the guy.
we talk about shit. Um, I mean, damn, I don't even know where to start. um, 2021, PNP had his first showcase. Did a small bar in Brooklyn, about like 80 people in the spot. No seats, no food, just drinks, and really like battle rap vibes. And fast forward, November 25th, 2023, we sold out the Apollo. 1,600 people. The largest spoken word poetry showcase since Def Poetry Jam, pure poetry. We didn't have any musical acts come in, famous acts, really like sell those tickets or bring the crowd out. We just had poetry. And I say we just had poetry as in a sense of there's been a lot of poetry showcases, but there haven't been a lot that to that caliber, to that size. And I was able to do that. Rush the Mic presents, Rashawn Brown presents a spoken word poetry me please at the Apollo, and we sold out. So just that alone is like you're not seeing that. Nobody's doing that. It's really just PNP. So just taking a step back and like immersing myself into that experience.
Yes, so I know for me, sometimes I even have a hard time stopping and smelling the flowers, right? So talk to me about, Apollo is historic, right? That's something you can go back decades and see footage of people
Right.
doing stuff at the Apollo, performing at the Apollo, and you sold out the Apollo. Tell me about that feeling on stage, that moment, that experience of accomplishing something that's just,
Yeah.
like those are like dreams that you may have like just as a kid, as you grow up and you try to, build something, you're like, man, we're gonna do this big thing. Tell me about that feeling.
I remember I hit the stage, lights going crazy. Shout out to Young Prince, the comedian, my two hosts for the night, introduced me. DJ Complete playing the song. Vibes Cartel Russian, walking out on stage, and I'm just like, yo, like this is, I told y'all. And I remember having a mic on me. I'm like, yo, I told y'all. I was like, if y'all fight, and I said this, earlier days, 2021, 2022, as PNP started to ramp up, I remember my third or fourth, fifth show, actually, my fifth showcase, I had a post on Instagram and it was a clip. It was like late night. I got home around like 4 a.m. We used to do showcases and after parties. I got home like 4 a.m. and I was Googling like how to rent out the Apollo. And that was in 2022. So just 2022 at some point, I'm like, yo, how to rent out the Apollo. Didn't really know what was going on. But I remember every time I got on stage, I was like, yo, if you follow me along this journey, we're going to do something on a grand scale at some point in time. Just trust me. Like, if you follow me along this journey, if y'all stick with me, y'all gonna see something that y'all have never seen before. So when I got on stage, I'm like, yo, I told y'all. I told y'all from 2022, 2021. I told y'all early this year that I was gonna do something to this caliber, and I was able to do it. So being able to just soak in that moment on stage, I think people are like laughing. They're like, "Oh, he's going." I'm like, "Nah, I'm dead ass." Like, yo, I told y'all. And for me, that was probably one of my best feelings to say something and then will it to fruition, just off the strength of betting on myself and putting in work.
That manifestation is so real, and you not only you have the pilot, you've also done this internationally as well.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Right,
Like,
right. Yes, that's what I'm like. I don't even know where to
like,
start.
you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you one of them ones.
I
You know
don't
what I'm
even know. I don't
saying?
even
You
know
him.
where to
You
start.
him. So
Yes.
tell me about getting to Europe, getting to the motherland.
Yeah.
With Poetry Me Please.
Yeah, I remember. So again, tapping into the networks. Black men, we're doing amazing things. If you look to the left, you look to the right, somebody's always doing something on a grand scale. So I remember reaching out to a few bros. Shout out to Nev, shout out to Abdul, Afro Future. And I remember pitching to my boy who's, they work close together on a few different few different projects, and I know they were close. I wasn't too close, but we, black men, we in the family, doing the right thing. So we've bumped shoulders a few times, so in the same places. So I'm like, yo, how realistic would it be to do a PNP in Ghana? And I remember pitching it to my boy, and he was like, yo, this makes sense. Like, what you are proposing, there's a gap. And I remember, they did something called, and this is going into like really analyzing a situation, finding how I can bring value to someone, and then understand and explain the shared value that we can have. So with Afrofuture specifically, they had a Rising Star Challenge for artists. And I remember it was very focused towards like music, like rappers, singers, DJs, but no poets. And I'm like, this is something that I would apply to, but after, did my research, I'm like, it's not really centered around poets. I don't know how that would work on a main stage. I don't know if, people are ready for that, really make sense of it. So I'm like, this is an area that y'all need. Y'all don't have any poetry showcases for this festival, but y'all have a poetry community in Ghana. Like, I've seen it, I've done the research. I know people that, didn't really have too much people out there, but I knew of, doing different projects. So I'm like, yo, I could come in. All I need is a spot. I can run it. I'll find the poets. I'll make it work. Pitched it to them, went back and forth. Our teams connected, and then we made it happen. I brought Biz, shout out to Biz, one of my business partners, brought him out there. I had friends that were already out there, so I had DJs that were out there.
Yeah.
I had I had people that can help me find poets. I remember jumping into, I think the showcase was like, after the festival, after the big party was the day after, and I remember going to a slam competition in the mall out there on Wednesday, and I'm like, yo, I know nobody here don't know me. I don't know y'all, but I'm doing a poetry show on Friday.
Yeah.
Pull up on me. People pulled up. So I was really in the community on some like, making the best of the situation. This wasn't a situation where like we had tons of sponsors to come, fly us out there. Nah, this was just me and my business partner like, yo, we're going to invest in this, make it make sense, capture footage, and really do it on a grand scale. And I was blessed to have J. Ivy pull up and perform, then winning the spoken word Grammy. So everything aligned perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Everything aligned perfectly. And I remember, somebody was like, yo, J. Ivy's out here, you should hit him up. So I said, all right, hit him on the gram. I'm like, yo, if you see this, I'm doing a showcase. I'd love for you to attend, It turns out he actually knew somebody that was performing. So she also hit him. He pulled up. He was like, yo, can I hit the stage? I'm like, of course. Sure, I would be honored. You know what I'm saying? Hit the stage. And so that was a huge one. You know what I'm saying? That was a huge one. Ended up meeting somebody that connected me with somebody else, and was able to go out to London and pretty much recreate the same experience at a one of those like private membership club type environments, but was able to do that all through Ghana. You know what I'm saying? I met that person at the end of December, early January, and then we were able to convert in almost a month to then bring PNP out to London. Brought the host, had a DJ out there, business partner, and we made it work. So being able to say, you know what, I'm gonna invest into this, I'm gonna bet on myself, go out to Ghana, somewhere I've never been, make the right connections, network, put myself out there, apply myself, and then being able to do reciprocate that same thing in London, to duplicate that same thing in London was amazing. You're not seeing that. And again, when I tell people, I'm like, there was no guarantees. And that's what I mean by really betting on yourself. Yeah. So when I say like, yo, I'm really him, I'm able to sit down, I have the right people around me. So when I pitch an idea, people are either gonna say, that makes a lot of sense, or I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, but here's how we can make it worth it. You know what I'm saying? So, while I want to take the most credit for, I think what I've really, applaud myself is surrounding myself with the right support system that I can tap and be like, yo, we got to go here, Ghana. Again, shout out to Biz. He's like, bet. We going to London? Bet. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I really have the most. Like I have people around me that I can really lean into and, utilize that support.
I love that. So I mean, we're gonna be on every continent. I'm looking forward to seeing
the
continued growth of Poetry Me Please. But I want to double click on that team building, that tribe, and how important is that? Just even not just as a black man, right? To
Right.
have your team, your tribe that rides for you, you ride for them, and we are coming together as a collective to move this initiative
Yeah.
forward.
It, like I said, it to me, soup. I've been blessed. I've been, and I'm always humbled to talk about this. And I love to. I think I want to lean more into this. And I was thinking about, when as I'm speaking about PNP and my journey, while I am the mastermind behind it, I definitely got to give credit to the people that are around me, and specifically looking at my team, and I have a solid team now more than anything else. Biz, Tima, Jordan, Foday, YP, the comedian, Nick, Jason, um, Susie, Menorca, Patrick, a lot of people, but that's the core. Those are the people that's my camera crew. Calf, my photography, my DJ, my host, my business partners, the executive team that I'm able to, the core of us, I can sit down, and what I love about my team is we're diverse in the things that we can do. So when I'm coming to them, I think I've done such a great job of proving my worth and proving myself. When I have an idea or when I say something, the team is like, bet. It's very little pushback. And I lean into the good part of that, meaning I'm not surrounded by like yes people, but because I have presented something that makes sense, and it's actionable, it's something that we can implement, and they understand the vision, they trust me, I'm able to lead them to that point. And then I have people on the team that questions it. That's like, why? I remember, bringing on Tima. She was, she's more about like brand partnerships, somebody with very new, innovative ideas. And I remember pitching ideas to the team, and she's on the meeting like, well, why are we doing that? And I was like, you know what, I actually like that, because it challenges me to question and to really dig deeper and dig granular about why I'm doing something, or why are we going to Ghana? Why are we going to London? Why haven't we been to Cali? Why haven't we been to other states? So I'm making it make sense for them. Like, here's why going international makes sense as opposed to going somewhere in the US. You know what I'm saying? And like, what's the value add? What's the return on investment? So when I tell people, as you are building your team, it's very important to surround yourself and to lean into that. And then Tequila, I mean, better than anybody else. Like, I can talk to her about something that makes sense, and she's like, no, we're not doing that. Or actually, we need to dig deeper into that. When I'm going somewhere and, I need somebody to make sure that everything is moving the way that it should be, she's that person. So being able to have a team that can implement and do the things when you're not around is probably the most important thing as you start to scale your business and your organization.
Yeah. When and even trying to, that's why it's so important to build that team, especially from the ground up. And because sometimes the hardest part is like finding talent, right?
Right.
So like when you have your group of people that you've been rocking with, and you could trust them, like, hey, this is your role, this is your responsibility,
Right.
and you can just, you can be hands off. Like that's just, yeah, that feels good. Like
It feels good.
That burden,
It's like,
is off
it's
your
like,
shoulders.
damn, y'all got it? Word? All right, bet. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So y'all have been listening. Y'all have been taking notes on what it is that we need to do in order to carry out this showcase or, this project. And it feels good, of course. Yeah, it feels great.
And so what I want to, before I have lots of questions, lots of things I want to talk about, but I would love to get like your early story. Tell me
okay.
about young Rashan and finding poetry as like something that is near and dear to your heart, to express yourself, that you're good at it, developing that skill, because like doing poetry is a skill.
Right.
Tell me about that.
It started high school, heartbreak, cliche. I always say cliche, but being able to express yourself as a black man, as a black young man, young adolescent, young adult, growing up in society, in the neighborhoods, inner city, low socioeconomic, environments, we don't have the resources. No one teaches us how to cry. No one teaches us how to grieve. These are things that are not learned through education. These are things that are usually learned through experience. And while, as a poet, kind of like dramatizing it, while the heartbreak, everybody goes through some heartbreak, but everyone feels it and experiences it differently. And I was somebody that bundled up my emotions, very angry, upset all the time, didn't really understand how to express myself. And when you're older, you start to ask yourself things like, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I sad? Am I upset? Why am I upset? Why does this bother me so much? Those are conversations that are easier to have when you're an adult because you understand how emotions work. You can start to dissect what impacted your feelings and your emotions. But when you're a 15, 16-year-old kid, no one's, you think, especially as a black man, black kid, you're like, I'm not supposed to be crying. I'm not supposed to feel this way.
Absolutely.
So you kind of like, you either get your energy out on the court, on the field, in the park, playing a sport, and that's it. Once that's over, you don't really have an opportunity to express yourself. So I remember me, I'm like, damn, this hurts. Like, I'm a kid, but this hurts. Like, and it hurt every day. You know what I'm saying? And you have reminders about the heartbreak, or you have reminders about something that happened, and you don't really know how to shake it. But you got class, you got school, and while high school may not have been difficult per se, you still have to interact with the world. And I remember watching battle rap and looking at there was this battle between Loaded Lux and Calico, the famous battle. And I remember Loaded Lux had such a poetic style to his battle rap. And I was like, this is something that I really like, and while I enjoyed other battle rap, that specific video really did it for me. And I remember looking at that video, and there was another video by a famous poet, Joshua Bennett. He performed at the White House. And full circle, because now it's full. So this story will be full circle.
Yeah.
That video, my favorite video, and one of the only videos that I've watched of poetry specifically, for a few reasons. But I remember really enjoying that video. It was a poem about his sister. She was deaf, she was impaired, and throughout the poem, he was like an apology to her for not learning sign language until it was like too late or like in the later years. And I remember being so moved by that poem. I was like, I think I got something to say. Like I think I can do this. So I was like, all right. So I always love to write. I wrote something down. I remember getting a beat. It was like a Major Lazer instrumental, and I wrote it. I performed it. And I remember sitting in my living room on my computer desk, like with I left my phone up and I just recited it. And at the end of it, I felt so relieved. I felt so good. I was like, damn, what is this feeling? Like, that felt so good. I think I threw it on Facebook for a little bit. I was getting my shit off. And when I took a step back, I'm like, damn, that was like my release.
Yeah.
That was my vice. That's how I was able to get through it. So after that, I was like, damn, this is something that I think, I want to do. And it wasn't anything that I I leaned into it. I think at that time I used it as a stepping stool to get over it. And once I got over it, I was like, bet. I didn't start writing mad poems after that. I kind of, I don't think I actually did until I got to college. And, I had an opportunity I think I tried out for the school's team. Funny enough, I got cut. Like, I didn't make it on the poetry team. So that was always like my villain story.
Wow, you guys enjoy this story.
That's a quick gem. Yeah. So
yeah.
I remember I tried out. I ain't make it. I guess, obviously I don't think I was nearly as good as I am now as I was then before. So, but it was my moment as a young black kid where I realized it's okay to express yourself.
Yeah.
It's actually okay to feel hurt. Like, no one is going to come and beat you up because you're crying, or like no one's going to ridicule you. And if they do, so what?
Yeah.
I need to move past this. This is hurting me. Like, how can I do it? And it was healthy. I realized it was healthy. I didn't realize how healthy it was until I got older.
So thinking about that, in your work and in your conversations, do you find that when we start talking about poetry and black men, there's like stereotypes that even black men have to overcome in terms of doing poetry?
Yeah.
And like, oh, that's not what we do. And
Right.
even the expressions. How has those conversations been, and even bringing more black men into this space of doing poetry so that they can express themselves?
It's been probably one of my biggest pain points. Specifically, I don't want to use specifically in the black community. I spend most of my time in the black community, is what I would say. I'm sure these are issues that other communities face, but I'm not too privy to it because I've devoted my time in the black community. And it is a battle. It is a struggle. It's disappointing when, you hear a lot of black people, men say, I don't go to poetry shows, or like, I'm not really into poetry. And you like, why? Oh, I don't really know. And I, I tapped them on that. Why? But you watch battle rap, but you like rapping, but you like freestylers, you like hip hop, you like R&B. We the foundation as poets. Your favorite rapper was probably a poet. They probably have poems in their phones. You know what I'm saying? There's poems that are laying around somewhere. When you look at hip hop and the four founders and the classic, the legends, like I'm sure you can find a video of them doing poetry.
Yeah.
And I asked them, and you never get a real answer, but what they have learned is like, it's for women, or it's too emotional. So, for me, I tell my dudes, y'all gotta be there. It ain't even a thing of like, nah. If I'm doing a showcase, y'all have to be there. And what I would really enjoy is if you can tap somebody else, tap another bro, and be like, yo, pull up. Why is it that, and I have this conversation with people all the time, why is it that a group of black men don't go to more live events by themselves? It doesn't have to be a concert. It doesn't have to be a comedy show, or it could be a comedy show, because that's even a start. You don't see groups of black men going out and entertaining themselves. They might go to the bar, they might get food, but they don't just go out. And I say they, as in even we, like even me. It's been a struggle kind of getting some of my friends to just say, we're gonna go to a poetry show, 3, 4 of us, 5 of us, and just go. Not because there's women around or because we want to find a move for the night. It's like, nah, let's just go and enjoy ourselves. So when you ask people like why, there's really not a reason, but I think the stigma is like it's too emotional. It's for women. It's they upstage, they on stage, they crying, they getting too in touch with their emotions. And the other piece is when you watch a captivating poet on stage, you start to ask yourself questions. If they're talking about somebody that they lost, now you in the crowd like, damn, I miss so and so. I miss that feeling. I remember when I was young, and it's a weird, I think it's a weird stat, like that weird tingly feeling.
Yeah.
And as men who haven't had an opportunity to really get in touch with their emotions, it's an awkward feeling for them. So instead of leaning into it in like the healthy way, they're just like, nah, I don't really like poetry shows. So that's been a struggle for sure. And I think over time, the more shows, getting back to your initial question, like poetry is cool now. I've had a strong hand in doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time I'm really going to lean into that as well. You didn't see people posting videos of poetry, single shot, double shot, triple shots, as reels, stories on social media. A lot of poetry wasn't even captured on video. You might have like the old school YouTube videos, sure, but you wasn't putting that on your personal profiles. It wasn't a cool, and it might have been a thing pre-COVID, sure. I don't really know. I've only have so much research in what pre-COVID poetry scene looked like. But in New York and the tri-state and the US really, people weren't really posting their videos and going out to events, bringing camera crews, filming them, being on news outlets, really capitalizing on that content. People wasn't doing that. But when I started, when P&P, again, wasn't I'm not gonna say the main, but the only reason, but a lot of it is because poetry is cool now. It's cool to post a video of yourself performing on a platform. It's nice when you can be in a party environment with your peers, a safe space, and feel loved and be like, yo, that was a dope poetry show. So I think the more people see that, the more opportunities that they have to experience it, you'll start to see more men, black men, start to come out to those events.
Yeah, something you said resonated with me about creating that space, because when you go to a poetry show and you hear that poet, it definitely makes you think, right?
Yeah.
And then for a minute, you can have a moment where you're like, oh, I don't have to suffer in silence.
Right.
I don't have to be on an island by myself and my thoughts. Hearing that woman or that man share their words through their poetry, and the more that we do that, that can get us to the healthy space that we need, you
Right.
know, as black men. So with that, you know, I knew he was coming, so I brought my poetry book.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
okay.
So I was like, I don't know if I could grace the
Yeah. Let me
PMP
hear some.
stage, but you know, I brought something, so I was like, let me
TBC
see
the
this.
throwback, like you was putting some work
throwback.
in there. Yeah, like you looking some
You
work
know
in
what I mean?
there.
You know, we from way back. So so my, you know, see, says poems by the lover boy.
Okay.
All right, so that was my name back in the
Okay,
day.
okay, COB vibes.
Yeah, so let me see. I want to get one. I'm gonna do one of the Love Jones. Let's see here. We're gonna do.
That book
Let's
look
see.
full.
Yeah. We was working, you know, back in the day. Let's see. I was looking at one earlier. We're gonna do Dream of You, Feelings of Love. You see my titles is all. Okay, we're gonna do this one. We're gonna do this. Ready for Love. Ready for
Okay,
Love.
Ready
So
for
you're gonna
Love.
let me, you know, give me some feedback on
Okay,
that. Okay.
okay.
Take my hand and lead the way. Tell me all you want to say. Whisper softly in my ear. All those things I want to hear. Kiss my lips and touch my skin. Bring out passions held deep within. Pull me close and hold me near. Take away my pain and fear. In the darkness of the night, be my beacon, shine your light. In the brightness of the sun, show me that you are the one. Give me wings so I can fly, for I could soar when you're nearby. Into my heart, break down the wall. It's time for me to watch it fall. I've been a prisoner, can't you see? Break my chains and set me free. Strip me of my armor tight. You'll find I won't put up a fight. Release my soul held deep within. I'm ready now. Let love begin.
That's tough.
That's tough. Okay.
That was tough.
I'm
That was
up.
tough. That was
Okay.
tough. That prison, you was ready.
Yeah. You
That
know.
prison set me free line was tough. Yeah, nah, that's
Okay.
what's up. Yeah,
All
you
right.
should. You might have to tap back into
All right.
that.
Okay. I might tap back
You
in.
might have
Okay.
to tap back into that. I seen the rhyme
I'm
scheme.
gonna put in. You know.
Yeah, I seen
Okay.
that. I seen that.
We winning. We winning out here.
It's interesting to hear that, and I think a lot of the times you hear women talking about ready and waiting for love, but it's interesting to hear a man talk about love and being ready for it, because I feel like we're more passionate when we're ready for love. When we're seeking it, it's kind of like we need it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We really want it, and
Yeah.
we're open. We're a little bit more open to finding it, and we might put our best foot forward, as opposed to women. A lot of times they might be waiting for it, as opposed to us. We like.
Yeah. You gotta go get it.
It's like, what's up? Like, I'm
courting
ready.
me,
Yeah, like,
you know?
what's up? What's going
Yeah,
on? So
facts.
I like that. That's what's up.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that feedback. I was like, oh, I gotta, I can bring up my old, bring it
Like I
back.
said,
You
might
know.
have to tap back into that.
So with the work, that you're doing, Poetry and Please is growing. And so I kind of look at it, what I like to call it is, you have the 9 to 5 and you do the 5 to 9, right?
Right.
Because you still have, tell me about how you find that balance and where you think it's all going to. Like, is Poetry and Please something you want to do full time?
Yeah.
Is it like you love the balance of having the two things because you also love your career? Because I know for me, that was something that I left my job in October, but one of the challenges was like, I actually really love my job, right? Like, I
Right.
actually love what I do. I wasn't
Okay.
one of the person who I'm not necessarily, this is,
Yeah.
I like it. So for you, what's your plans when you're trying to do both 5 to 9 and 9 to 5?
And it feels like it feels like a 8 to like 4 a.m. That's what it feels like most times. But I have a pretty unconventional background. I used to teach in a public school. I was an 8th grade teacher for 4
Okay.
years, STEM education, and then I switched into tech. So now I'm a product manager for ESPN, and that transition alone was such a rigorous switch. And I've always been just a hard worker, like naturally, just 2 jobs, 3 jobs after school, promoter, like always doing something. So doing both or doing multiple things isn't really a difficult task. It might get tiring, but because I love doing it in the same way that you said, you love doing it, I look at it like 3. I'm a product manager for my 9 to 5, but then I'm also a founder and CEO of PMP. But then I myself am a spoken word artist, and I have my separate gigs. Rush the Mic has its own brand. Rashan Brown has its own brand, and it honestly feels it's hard to separate it I think setting time limits and, being mindful about where your, time management is always key, of course. I definitely do want to lean more into being a poet and being an entrepreneur. But the reality of it is, it's hard. That part of it is hard.
Yeah.
Sustaining the life that you want to live as an entrepreneur, depending on what you are creating or that you have, that the business that you're running is difficult. You have months, and you have years when you're doing a lot. Like last year, I was doing a ton of work. By this time, I had been to 2 different continents. This year, I tore my patella tendon. So now I'm chilling. I can't go, I can't fly, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, when you take a step back, and I remember, again, surrounding yourself with the right people, talking to different people that are entrepreneurs that had quit their jobs and have fully transitioned to being self-sufficient. And, I remember, shout out to Ant, he's like, yo, that job feel good, right? Because you don't got to worry about waiting on somebody to send you a check when you can't even move. He's like, you can write poems, you can't perform right now, though, right? And it was funny to hear, but it was like a reality moment. It was kind of like, it kind of like humbled me. And while, you always want to, work for yourself and be self-sufficient, you do have to lean into the 9 to 5 for that consistent income. And that's what it comes down to. Being financially knowledgeable, financially stable, where, again, you'll have your up months, you'll have weeks where you're up, you'll have, for a poet, Black History Month is always a hit. Juneteenth, June always a hit. Any like Black holiday is a hit, or like, if there's during Christmas time, those holidays, more poetry showcase, you got a lot of galas, a lot of events, you might need a poet, and being able to have those opportunities are great, but those aren't as consistent as I'd like them to be. So at some point I do see me going full time in that transition. I think that there's other business ventures that I want to lean into more. But I'm always going to be that poet. I'm always going to be the founder and CEO, but I'm also finding ways to make it sustainable. Realistically, being a poet, just a poet, is not as sustainable as people think it is. Sometimes when I talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, how's the poet? You're doing poetry full time. And I'm like, nah, I don't know if it seems that way to you. I don't know what I've been doing. Maybe I'm too low. And, I try to be more vocal about what I'm doing, especially on the product management side, because there was a point in time when I was really advocating for teachers to make a transition. I think it's important for everyone to teach. And I always say it like, and you can understand it's coming from education background. I don't know if you ever taught in like the K through 12. So when I tell people, I'm like, you need at least 2 years, because it changes your perspective on life when you are teaching the future generations. People, the way that you assess a problem, your conflict resolution, the way that you approach things, and having not instant gratification, but to seeing it on the long term, it changes completely when you teach. And I remember telling people, but don't get sucked into it. Don't be complacent. Don't just fall into it, because what happens as a teacher, you teach 1 year, you get your summers off, it gets lit, still get paid, and then it's like, I bet I'm gonna just do it again. And I know a lot of people that they don't want to be teachers long term. That's not their end all be all. So what happens is your pedagogy and your curriculum planning starts to wean out, because you're not as in tune with getting a student from a 2 to a 3, from a 3 to a 4. You're just kind of going through the motions. And as a result, you start to hurt the progression of the future generation. So it's like, yo, make that transition. You want to go to tech? Tech was cool. So, everybody's trying to get into tech. It got a little spooky this past year.
But a lot of layoffs.
It got spooky.
Spooky season.
But again, I know kind of going in circles, but it's like, I do want it to be that long term. And again, I've been trying to advocate for it. Poets need to get paid, but is there specific type of events, being realistic, the type of events that you want to get into are more the personal projects, maybe, where you're performing for someone. A brand might reach out to you and say, hey, I want to do a promo video. I want to do a commercial. What does that look like? As a poet, a copywriter, a voice actor, lean more into that. And I try to, through personal projects, again, I insert myself in a lot of places. It's like, especially for brands, Black brands, they had a boom and everybody's like releasing their merch, releasing their content. It's like, yo, I see you doing some videos. Would you mind if I write a poem and like speak over it, and like, I can pretty much give me the vision. We could work together. And what that does is it builds your digital portfolio. Now you have content. Now when, you ever watch a Nike video, who do you think is talking over the video?
Yeah.
It's a voice
Facts.
actor, but you're a poet. You do the exact same thing on stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And when you start to make that connections and, to build poets up, so that's why we tell poets, we're gonna give you photography content. We're gonna give you video content.
Yeah.
Don't post the video that your friend sent you from in the crowd.
Yep.
Wait until the official video comes out. It's gonna be a clear quality. The way that social media works, TikTok is getting spooky for them too, right? So Instagram
it's very spooky.
So every day you gotta change. You have to learn a new algorithm and change the way that social, because you can go viral on social media and your brand deal might shoot up. Your portfolio will look better when you have more views, more likes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that happens when you have quality content, because a lot of these social media platforms, they're reducing the content that can go viral because it's not clear, because it's not crisp, because the audio is off. A lot of those specific minor things are ways that we're building poets and we're building artists up so that people can say, and I always say this, if you have a banquet event, any formal event where there's food or you're honoring someone, there should be a poet opening the show,
Facts.
during intermission, or closing the show. And that's what I think is the most important piece.
Thinking about that, we got into the tech, we think about the next generation. Something I'm really interested in, because spooky season also is AI, right? And so do you have any thoughts on how like AI, and even as technology evolves, and how that may impact poetry, moving forward?
It's anyone can be a poet. Anyone can be a poet. And we haven't spoke about it too much. It's probably the first time I'm talking about this out loud. I'm not too sure how to feel about it. I think that there is something special about you being your own writer, especially with poets. But like, there are ghostwriters. And while I might write something and give it to somebody else to perform, which I've never done, but while that may happen, I can be that ghostwriter. Who's to say that an AI can't be a ghostwriter? So I think it's happening now. There's no way to tell. If you like, I tell poets, I don't screen poets. So specifically, when I give a poet an opportunity to hit up on stage, I'm not asking them to send me their poems. I'm Rashan. I'm not the poet that can make those judgments. I'm giving you 7 minutes. There's gonna be 300-400 people in the spot. Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass yourself. Do your thing. But even if you do, it's kind of like whatever. Like we're just a platform. You could do your thing. So I'm sure people have tapped into Chat GPT or whatever. I'm very interested to see how it plays out. But there's both sides of it. Who's to say, because they are a performer, you might get content or get a poem and really internalize it, memorize it. It might be yours then. I don't know. What I'm saying?
I think, cause I was wondering in mind, because I think AI is extremely intuitive, and just thinking about and then sometimes some people aren't great writers, but they have the look and they have the voice. Right. So if you can get somebody to write for you, and because it happens in music too, right? It's like, that person can't write, but they got the look, they got the style. Listen, we just need somebody to write for this person. That's it. And then now we got a star.
Right. That's it. I hope they're being mindful. Like I said, there is something about personable poetry that I truly like. But again, people like all types of live entertainment, poetry. So I'm sure we're gonna start to see it boom more, and people get writer's block. So like, more power to them. It's not something that I'm gonna do, but again, more power to them. Utilize the resources that you have around you and to capitalize on it. If it's bringing you in money, you determine whether or not if it's integrity, or if you just want the bag. That's a you thing. So I'm interested to see how that unfolds too.
And building on that, this is AI, but also thinking about with your past experience in the school system and Poetry Me Please, and doing work in the community with students, and we talked about even like as boys specifically around what it can do. What are some thoughts and things Poetry Me Please is looking to do around community and working with youth?
Workshops. And again, honing in on the curriculum piece of the workshop, the takeaways, because I have an education background, and the great thing about PMP, I think out of the core team, like 7 out of 8 of us are either teachers or past teachers, educators. So we're really coming from an educational background, and workshops, panel discussions, takeaways. I remember I did a workshop for text giving, older community, of course, but I remember young adults taking notes on things that I said. And it humbled me and it brought me back to a position of like, wow, this is rich content. Kind of reminding myself like, oh yeah, I used to do this. You know, I am a teacher. Like I'm an educator first. And people are taking notes like, oh, can you give me a second? I just want to write that down. I'm like, oh, you writing down what I said. Wow, okay. Understanding, okay, there's so many different avenues in poetry. We're doing the showcases. We're in London. We're in Ghana. We're going here. We're doing the Apollo. But when you look at the youth again, how do we capitalize on the opportunities to provide the help for the youth? And again, the workshops specifically not only about writing, but performance. I'm always honing in on the performance piece. Once you write something and you get it down, memorize it because it'll elevate your performance.
Yeah.
And I try to hone in on that specifically with the youth. It's so you got to shake that like shy, you know, a lot of shyness, you know, insecure, they're like closed in, they don't want to project their voice. Those are the things specifically that I think working with the inner city youth and like just kids in general, that's something that can be transferable to their everyday lives. Writing is dope. It's expressive, mental health, all those things are a part of the writing piece. But when you can perform a piece, when you can really immerse yourself in what you're talking about and speak it with conviction, I think that's a little bit more transferable. So those are the things that we want to work on specifically with the youth.
Outstanding, and I look forward to seeing that in action because I know how impactful that's going to be, and like I was thinking about what the next generation will look like when we can invest in them in that way,
Right.
and help them acquire those social emotional skills that
Right,
allow for them to
exactly.
be successful. As we kind of come to a close here, I'm wondering, one of my wonderings is that what can we expect from you? You know, I know you're healing, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
as you're healing, and I'm not even sure how much time you have left in that process, but what's gonna be this year? What can we expect? What can we see? What should we be looking on the lookout for from Poetry Me, please?
I'll give you some gems. I'm back. I'm gonna be back. Our next showcase is April 13th.
Okay.
For PMP and myself, you can expect more shows, consistent shows as we've been doing. So maintaining that, but also more innovation. You know, I'm always looking to see how can we change the trajectory of poetry. How can we continue to bring it to the forefront to show people that poetry deserves a main stage. There's tons of main stages. Poetry needs one of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue to do the work. I'm gonna continue to push the needle, to push buttons, to get people to jump on the poetry bandwagon. We want more people in those seats. We want new people in those seats. We want you to tell a friend that's gonna tell a friend and tell a friend. Post the content, support a poet. We are going to physically, manually uplift poetry and the contributions that people give to it. So don't be surprised when you see us on bigger stages.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised when you see us leaning more into the development of poetry, the workshops, the panel discussions, the true takeaways. You're going to start to see that a lot with PMP. And again, a creative innovation for poetry, because everybody's doing it with rap, with singing. You're going here for this, you're taking off work to go on this. Make sure when you see a poetry show, if it's mine, if it's somebody, that you're supporting it. Whether it's on a Friday, a Saturday, it don't matter. Please lean into it. So you'll start to see more people do that as well, just through the domino effect of what we've been doing.
Definitely. What about a book coming? Maybe is that a thought?
Oh yeah, that's definitely in the works.
Yeah,
That's definitely in the works. I won't say too much about it. It's definitely in the
Okay.
works. Definitely in the works.
I didn't know. I was asking. I was just. It was just
EPs. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? The
Yeah.
Grammy nominations is flowing out. You might see something there. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Okay.
like I said,
Talk to me
there's a
nice.
lot of work, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for poets, myself, and just like
Yeah.
other poets included. So we're all going to lean into that and try to, again, bring it to the forefront.
Man, that's outstanding. And it's just an honor to get a chance to sit down. Like I've been watching what you're doing, and we do tequila
appreciate
and
that.
everything. And I'm like, man, like I'm doing the men's den. I gotta get you on
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have this
yeah.
really dope conversation, and even build from here. The different things that we could potentially do together, and then also just you have the Black Men Can't Support.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the men's
Phenomenal
den,
again.
in
Phenomenal.
terms
The
of
platform.
push it out. I really, as you can see, I was writing poetry.
Yo,
You
I
you
said, I gotta,
I'm gonna have to
whenever
tap
you want
back
to get on
in.
stage, yeah, we set it up.
But yeah, no, I love the work that you're doing. I appreciate you taking some time to just come on to Men's Dinner and rock out with us and share a little bit about the work and your journey.
Yeah.
And again, you had the full support of us
Thank
moving
you.
forward. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's huge. And again, the platform is phenomenal. What I see the most is the inspiration. So again, when I'm looking on the page and I finally get the chance to meet the mastermind behind it, hearing you speak at the White House on the panel, really understanding, I'm not surprised that you have the education background. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that you speak, the way that you're cultivating that level of inspiration, I think is really at the top of how do you make change. It's inspiring the youth, inspiring a black man, because when we're inspired, that's when the most happens. So I appreciate that.
Black man, that's when the most happens. I love that.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
But I thought I didn't want to, open up the line with that one.
Definitely not. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Love.